What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Zach with Good Game Nation here, bringing you another One Piece video. Today we're gonna go over my law deck. It's a little pet project of mine. It's my baby. It reminds me a lot of Dragon Ball, and as I've said on this channel multiple times, I like Dragon Ball. So the point of the deck is to flood the board with a bunch of little guys, and then tap 2 mana to bounce your little guys back for the opposite color of a 5 or less. So essentially, you bounce back a red for a green 5 or less. You bounce back a green for a red 5 or less. Um, I'll go over a couple of the choices and things like that as we move on, but I think for the most part, it's pretty standard, and I'm pretty happy with it for the most part. So your leader is a 4 life leader because you're dual color. Always be aware of that. Otama is broken. It is a 2K combo. It is this card in the deck that isn't searchable, so it's something you want to be wary of. But what it does is on play, it minuses one of your opponent's characters 2K. And it has a lot of synergy with a card I'll get to later. But it's one of the main answers to uh, the kid, the A drop kid that sticks on the board. This deck is by nature an aggro deck. You want to flood the board a lot, have a lot of guys, so you need to be able to deal with those pesky cards that stick. 6 drop crocodile is another one. Then we move into there's 4 chopper in the deck. It's standard 1 drop blocker. 3 of the mover Namis. We also played 3 of the search Namis. Nami can't search itself, which is fine, but Nami can search the other Nami, and when you can bounce into your Namis and end up gaining free mana that way too, like you tap 2, bounce into a Nami, move some stuff around. It's just free value, and like that's the name of the game is Value Town. And then we play for our green little weenies. We play 3 Bingy, whatever, and four Bonnie. Bonnie, best Bonnie. It searches itself, unlike Nami, so we're already in a good spot there. It also searches over half the deck because there's a plethora of cards that are all supernova, and so it's like one of the main ways to keep your agent going. That's why we don't play Raizo, because we have consistent ways to just keep adding cards to our hand. Um, so that's kind of what rounds out the early turns. You want to turn 1 slap a blocker, slap a Nami, turn 2 slap another couple 1 drops, and then you're kind of rolling. You're getting the ball moving. So our mid game, our 3s and 4s, they're kind of pretty impactful. So Izzo's another 2K counter that rests something on the board. We can play it for free, rest something, uh, and then continue our plays from there. We can bounce it back for like a Luffy. Essentially, we rested something to play the 5 drop Luffy for 5 mana still, and then we get into we have basic Zoro over here. He's just a regular rush. It's kind of standard. You don't like playing it because it doesn't have counter power, but it's also just a really good card. It's a supernova. It's a straw hat. It's 5K. Uh, with the Drake, it's a 6K. There's no reason not to play it, so we play it. And we get into probably like arguably my favorite card in the deck. We get to this is a bad bitch Robin, and basically, so on attack, she kills something 3K or less with a Dawn. So you're able to loop uh, Otamas. You're able to loop Otamas to minus things by 2K. So for instance, in green, when they play Drake, if you have uh, Nico on board, you just play Otama, minus it 2K, add a Dawn, swing, and you kill the Drake. 7 drop blocker kid as well. That makes it into some of the lists. You can like loop double Otama. It's a 3K. You can kill it with a Nico. This Nico is like mandatory. They have to answer this, and if they don't, you probably run away with the game. Then we play 3 Drake because it's kind of like our tempo play. Like it's a card that it's really good, but it's also not really good, right? Like by itself, it's not a good card. But with what it does, with every other card being a supernova, with your leader being a supernova, uh, there's a lot of synergy, and you hit a lot of the sweet spot numbers for you can cheat things into play. And then we kind of round out the higher end of the deck with our 5 drops. We've got 3 of the set law, the blocker that adds a card back to your like for cost, you bounce a card back to your hand and you can play a 3 or less. So it's another way to reuse like your Robin to keep it out of danger. You can reuse Otamas. You can bounce your Zoro, play your Zoro, so you can get 2 instances of rush in the same turn. Um, it's just a very good card, and it's also a blocker, and a lot of people forget about that. Uh, 6K blocker, it's really strong. And then we move into probably one of the best cards in the game still, a rush with unblockable. We do play the Nami, so we get to leverage some of that around. We get to play this for 2. It's just there's no reason for us not to play it. And then we have the starter deck law. This card, I want to play it for the single fact that it's solid stat wise, and it also has counter power. Whereas terms of the other 6Ks, they don't. Like the Luffy and this in the set law don't have counter power. This one does. Um, Also, it can do some cheeky things when you can like restand your rushes and restand your drakes to swing again. Uh, and then we round out the late game with 2 copies of the kid. This is the boy, the deal with me or you lose the game card. Honestly, you guys can probably cut it. I don't think it's super necessary. I might play one and maybe like one round table. Uh, just something in my head right now because it's kind of it doesn't come up a lot. The same thing when we move into some of these option cards right here. So Radical Beam is nuts, and we're just always going to play Radical Beam because 1 mana 4K is broken. You're a 4 life leader, so you hit that 2 life threshold off 2 attacks, and then this is always life. So we probably boost this up to a 4th copy. Paradise Waterfall is it's cool and it's cute when it goes off, but I think it's better suited in green, like mono green, where there's a lot more like defensive cards moving around. Because a lot of the stuff I do, like I don't really defend a lot, or it's worth restanding. Maybe just my blocker, my law blocker. Other than that, the rest of them are kind of lackluster. So that card will probably get cut in future editions of this list. And then 2 Jet Pistols. It's just a 4 mana kill something basically. A lot of pesky cards are 6K or less, so it's and it's also trigger. You know, it hits in your life. It, it comes up, and it's also this in Otama is a 5 mana out 2 kid. Period. It's just five mana kill kid. And then if you have other guys on the board, it can technically be 7 mana can kill kid and summon Luffy. Just win for game. Overall, the deck is very strong. Uh, I will urge you to not feel down on yourself if you don't catch the deck quick. It is a deck that requires a lot of practice. Some of the, I guess, when you're opening hands, you're primarily looking for like Bonnie, Nami, 1 to 2 copies of like your mid range cards, ideally. Like if you see like a Nico, like for instance, bro, if you see like Otama, Nico plus a Searcher, you probably just keep that hand, no matter what the other 2 cards are. But the name of the game is survive the early game, apply a bunch of pressure, and then bounce into your big guys. So if your hand is a bunch of heavy cost, a bunch of 4s, 5s, 3s, you don't want that. So just go ahead and put it back. We're looking for a bunch of 1s. We're looking for Bonnies. We're looking for Otamas. We're looking for Namis. Other than that, you kind of just curve into everything you need to curve into. And yeah, that's the deck. Um, I guess we can go over some matchups really quick before I hop off here. Everything feels winnable. Nothing feels unbeatable. Purple still feels like if they curve, they curve. It's probably your hardest matchup. Like a board wipe Kaido is pretty detrimental. Um, but ideally, you should be able to beat that deck prior to that happening. And if you can establish a secondary board, or if you sandbag a couple of the Luffy's to be able to rush as soon as they blow the board, you can just kind of clap back with double Luffy that way. Uh, so there's ways around it, but that is for sure your hardest matchup. The blue matchup is basically free because they don't want to bounce back your big guys that you play for 2 mana. Nobody wants to do that. It's and no one wants to spend 4 mana to bounce back a little guy. So you're just the matchup is free almost. Uh, any mono red matchups feel very winnable because you have higher tempo. We have access to green cards, and having the access to the green cards helps you in the red matchups. There's a red, purple, green, blue. Yeah, it's basically everything. I can't really. This is one of the strongest decks in the game for sure. This kid, mono purple Kaido. That's probably where I'm at right now with all the testing. I would highly recommend this deck. Give your guys selves a chance. Let me know what cards you think I should be playing. Let me know what cards you think I'm crazy for playing, and then go ahead and let me know how your guys' match go after you test it. And thanks for go ahead and coming to the video, guys. That's all I got for you guys today. Maybe we'll come up with something spicier later, but for now, this is a solid standpoint. All right, y'all. I'll catch y'all later. Deuces.